Hi, this is Madison Mayer, here to tell a digital story of the Indigenous history of Hamilton Township, Ontario, Canada. Listen in to discover the ins and outs of the area, learn who is native to the region, and a pre- and post-colonization history, including subjects such as trade, treaties, alliances, and conflicts within the events Indigenous peoples of the area experienced. This story takes place in southern Ontario. Located north of Port Hope is Rice Lake, a small body of water reaching from Bewdley to Hastings and connecting into the Otonabee River and Trent River water system towards Lake Ontario. The town I will be talking about includes Bewdley, at the southernmost tip of Rice Lake. Neighboring towns and regions in the surrounding area include Peterborough, Northumberland, including Port Hope and Cobourg, and the Durham region. Following the creation of the Royal Proclamation of 1763, the British negotiated a series of treaties with Indigenous peoples and communities to gain title over areas of land in Canada. This particular area is a part of the Williams Treaty of 1923, signed by both the governments of Canada and 7 First Nations groups or communities. The 7 groups are divided into the Chippewas of Beausoleil, Georgina Island, and Rama, and the Mississaugas of Alderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, and Scugog Island. When comparing the circumstances of the Williams Treaties of 1923 to that of the Upper Canada land surrenders and the various numbered treaties, the Williams Treaties included less favorable terms for the 7 First Nation signatories, who had no legal representation during the creation of the treaties. This was a significant issue, as the Williams Treaties differed from similar ones, such that the Indigenous peoples received a lump sum payment instead of annuity payments, and surrendered the rights to hunting and fishing of off-reserve lands. Historians argue that the exclusion of these rights may have been purposefully left out by the Canadian and Ontarian governments, and that the signatories may not have meant to surrender these rights, as previous treaties in Canada have had them included. It is important to consider the effect of the treaties on the Indigenous peoples involved. Various ways of life were forced to change as hunting and fishing rights were lost in certain areas. Widespread colonization affected change of the environment to become more unfamiliar, and British power was increased over Canadian land and the people first inhabiting it. These shifting relationships between the newfound Canadian government and the First Nation signatories must be considered when assimilating British Canada's unfair past and the experiences of Indigenous peoples, in order to work through a process of reconciliation to promote respect of various cultures, traditions, and ways of life. In more current times, the Hiawatha First Nations and Alderville First Nations have separated from the Williams Treaty and the Rice Lake Purchase, or Treaty Number 20. Thriving First Nations communities inhabit these allotted areas in the township of Hamilton, on the north and south sides of Rice Lake. After the hardship faced throughout Canadian history, much still has to be done to reconcile the experiences of the past and ensure the fair and just treatment of Indigenous peoples and their rights. This concludes my digital story on the Indigenous peoples and history of Hamilton Township, Ontario. Thanks for watching.